As chair of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Facilities Committee, I find that due to the state of the emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there's no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All meetings of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Facilities Committee have the ability to communicate. All members of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Facilities Subcommittee have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform. And the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656. Meeting ID 946-5611-5326, or by clicking on the following website address: public stream, and then the address is www.youtube.com/C/SRSD meeting videos. Anyone wishing to make a public comment concerning items on the agenda can email Matt Angel, Angel, that's ANGELL @SAU17.net. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the Sanborn Regional School District at www.sau17.net. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please call 603-642-8541 or email at helpdesk@sau17.net. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. And let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Larry.
I'm in my office in my basement. There is nobody present but myself.
Matt.
Matt Angel. I'm in my office at the SAU and I'm alone.
Jamie.
Jamie Fitzpatrick. I'm in my home office and I'm alone.
And Jim Baker, and I'm in an office in my home and I'm alone. So let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Matt, do you want to bring up the revolving funds?
Sure. Let's see.
Other than interest and the crediting of the warrant articles, I didn't see any changes to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So the Special Education Expendable Trust Fund, now these are as of October 31st of 2020. So the Special Education Expendable Trust Fund has an ending balance of wait a minute, $241,160.46. I'm going to scroll down to the Capital Improvement and Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund. Again, for this past month, it's just interest, and so that the ending balance is $223,023.80. When I scroll on down here to the Unanticipated Education Expenses Capital Reserve Fund, and again, it's just interest for the month with an ending balance of $150,190.85. The Facility Use Revolving Fund just has a monthly rental fee on it It increased the balance from $159,000 to $170,721.14.
Great.
I should put a total in there because I know you like to total those up.
Nice to have that rental fee coming in every month.
Sure is.
So any questions or discussion about these funds?
No, pretty straightforward this
Okay.
week.
You all set, Larry? Larry, you all set? Okay. All right.
Let me stop sharing.
Yeah, you're all set, Matt?
Yeah. So the total of all those funds is $785,096.25.
785, what was it?
$785,096.25.
Thank
What
you.
I'll do is I'll add in a sum total of all the different funds added together for the next report.
Okay, great. So you want to get into the CIP?
Yeah. All I have tonight is memorials. And then let's see if I can. I'm trying to make it big enough on my screen so I can share this. Okay. So the first one is updating the fire alarm system at Memorial Elementary School, similar to the request that I made for Bakey. And I'm actually using a lot of the same information that I used for Bakey. So it was $93,515. And so basically it's the same problem that the fire department can't operate the fire alarm system from outside the building like they can at the high school. Now, all it will do is it will just improve service at the time of an emergency, and it would be a replacement. And what I had put down for a replacement period would be fiscal year 23-24. That would be in several years, and it would be through tax revenue. Now, some of the I gave some guidance on when to replace fire alarm in existing buildings, and I want to remind everyone one of those that I'm trying to do this off the top of my head too. Instances would be when you can't get service for the you can't find qualified people to service that particular older unit. Another one would be you can't find parts for that older unit. I'm trying to get down to that section. I passed it. Anyways, right now we do have a company that's able to service it, and we are able to add parts to it. We've had, just to kind of give you an idea, we've been able to, there's an older system at the old middle school. We've been able to swap out some of the pull stations with modern ones, and we're able to keep it going. We're able to do that with Memorial and Bakey as well. So I'm making this request knowing that it's not going to probably pass, but we need to kind of get this into the mindset that at some point we need to replace the fire alarm system in the future.
So can we put this in the CIP with the notations that you just explained what the reasons are to actually replace it?
Yes, absolutely.
So if we're still able to get service and parts in 23-24, then there'd be no reason to replace it.
That's correct.
Jamie?
Hey, Matt, what's the age of the Memorial system versus the age of the Bakey system? Do you know?
No, I think they're both about the same age. The one, I'm more familiar with the one at the old middle school, which I guess was put in about the same time. And that's a mixture of systems from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, what's the condition of the cables?
So far they seem to be okay. They're just communication cables, so they're not necessarily running any high voltage.
Not cracking or anything.
Sorry?
They're not cracking up or anything, getting cracks in them.
Not that we're aware of. No, what we're running into for age-related stuff is the pull stations used to have like little pieces of glass going through them, and they don't sell that anymore. So the pull stations are kind of floppy and can trigger the fire alarm because there's nothing holding the mechanism. And so we've been having to replace those pull stations with a more modern pull station. And fortunately, those modern ones have been backward compatible with the current system. So that's what we've been running into, except at the high school, which I shared an email with all of you about the high school recently. We can go into it later.
That's great. They're still compatible.
Yeah, it's really going to be when the main board goes, that's going to be problematic. I'm not going to be able to find parts for that. And okay, so let me kind of tangent here. So we had an incident at the high school that there was a short in the system, and basically it was a door closer. So when someone pulls a fire alarm, the magnetic door pulls on the doors automatically shut the doors, and one of them shorted, blew out a card in the main board, and also melted part of the main board. So we now have a new main board and a card, and the system's up and running. But that's an example of something that could happen where it's irreversible.
What was the cause of that, Matt? Do you know? I mean, after
So here's the door closer. And basically there's a live wire. There's a 120 volt line coming into it. And then there's a communication line coming out of it going to the fire alarm. And what happened was when the unit melted down, it sent 120 volts across the communication line back to the main board and melted the main board.
Geez, it's amazing the communication line didn't short out before it got to the board.
It did.
Oh, but not before it got to the board, though, not before.
Yeah, and it also brought down some of the electrical components within inside of that wing too. So it was like a failure on top of a failure.
So the magnetic aspect of that door closer, is that so you can close a door remotely?
Yeah, so you know how people prop open doors, and so these are fire doors, and they would tend to be doors that would be leading into wings. And if there isn't normally you want the doors open so students can have free flow throughout the hallways. But when there's an emergency situation and they pull the fire alarm, the doors have to close to make that firewall. They can still go through the door by hitting the bar, the door opening bar going across the door. But right now the doors are being held open by these magnets that are up on the wall, and all these things do is just cut the power to that magnet.
I see. So that's like when we go into the library, there's a magnet that holds the door open?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's one of those controllers failed. So if something like this happened at Bakey or at Memorial, it would be catastrophic. I wouldn't be able to repair those fire panels.
Right. But that would be the case whether it was 2 days old or 10 years old.
Yeah, so in the case of the high school, we were able to get a hold of the manufacturer, and they were able to provide us with parts. And yeah, the fire alarm system is 16 years old. They still supply parts for that particular model.
Good.
The other ones are pushing 60 to 80 years old.
Yeah, they're old.
Question for you, Matt. Can we make a capital reserve fund on that, or is that because we need to start putting money aside for that? That's
Well,
gonna be expensive.
let's see if I can go back. Let me open up the, oops. I'm sharing one of my screens. I'm sharing some of my, oops. So we have the capital improvement maintenance capital reserve fund. We could draw off of that one. And there's $223,000 in that fund. Okay. So basically, if both of them were to fail, there's sufficient funds within the capital reserve fund to pay for both of them. Okay. Really what I want to try to do is get to the point where we're planning these things out and then how we're going to raise the revenue associated with them.
Well, that's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
is that we could put some money aside just for that project. We know it's gonna go. It's just a matter of when, and it's gonna burn up. And
Okay.
hopefully not take anything else with it.
So if both of them went, we would probably have, let's see, 223,000. So there'd probably be about $40,000 left in the fund if we had to replace both of them. I'm assuming $180,000 would be sufficient to replace both. Memorial is a little smaller, so it'd probably be less.
So we need to keep building up the capital reserve fund.
Yes.
Or, well, actually, the facilities maintenance fund too, right? Wouldn't that qualify for this?
I can't pull up.
Facilities use? Where we have the rents coming in?
There we go. Yeah, let me see if I can switch to that particular one.
That's got the 170 in it now.
Yeah, I have to read the what the warrant article says on it. Yeah, it looks like we can use it for maintenance, technology costs, and improvement of the district facilities. I don't know why my other screen keeps being shown. I'm gonna close that out.
Well, clearly it would make sense to, as Larry suggested, to continue to push reserve funds through the warrants this year again.
I think it'd be really wise this time. Especially with something that old and electronic back in the 60s.
Yeah,
I wasn't even born then.
I was in the Navy then.
That's with you guys.
okay. So what I'm looking for is, I think in the past, what you guys had done was approve these things as $1. And I think we went one by one. Would you be agreeable to approving this as $1?
I would be.
I think it should be in the long-term plan. I don't think it's necessary now. We don't have it in for now. But it's worth taking into consideration, because when it comes time for a warrant article for increasing the capital reserve funds, we can come back and reference the types of things that are out there that over the next few years are coming our way from what we can see from where we sit today.
I agree with you, Jamie, on that.
And I would agree that the same holds true for academics, right? When people right now are really upset or frustrated about, well, why are you looking at the graduation requirements? When that's part of a strategic plan, it makes more sense to everybody, right, Jamie? So it puts context on all fronts, right? First goal, student learning. You need facilities for student learning. You need staff for student learning. We need support of the community for student learning. They're all linked in my mind.
So Matt, when you're saying put this in the CIP, you're talking specifically about the alarms, right?
Specifically about what?
The alarms. We've got other items in there.
Yeah, we need to go one by one, or do you want to approve them all at the end?
No, let's go one by one.
Okay, yeah, so So I'm just asking to put in the fire alarm, and in the other buildings, you guys just put it in as $1.
I would say we need to do that too. This is all, it's going to fail sooner or later.
Yeah.
Might as well have it
I-
identified and upfront.
I would move to put it in for that 23-24 period as at $1, but also with the notes that the reason, which is what, Matt had explained, the reason to replace the alarms are not because they're old, but if it gets to the point where we can't service them. Because they're currently working and they meet code.
So how do you want to do that? Do you want motions on each one of these things, or just a nod and then approve the whole CIP at the end?
In the past, you did motions, but I think for expediency, nodding would be appropriate.
I'm nodding.
I
Okay,
agree.
all right.
That was really funny. I just see Jim like this.
All right, I'm gonna scroll on down to the next one. The next one is parking lot pavement improvements. Basically, at Memorial, the parking lot pavement has been in service. I can't find any records of when it was in service, but if you go down there, you're gonna see that there are areas where the pavement is in excellent condition, and then there are other areas where it's not in excellent condition. So what I'm proposing is for next summer, spend about $65,000 in repairing the pavement that's existing, resurfacing areas that need to be resurfaced, and then also do a crack seal, seal coat, and line striping like we did at the high school.
Now, what's your quote based on? Has it actually been quoted, or is this from something else?
This is a general guesstimate as to the amount of money that we spent on the high school, middle school project when we did the middle school transition. And that particular project was to, we had to put in a little access road to change the parent loop, to increase the parking area, to line stripe, crack seal, and seal coat. So I think it's going to come in much less than this, but this is a project that I think would be beneficial to the district if we were to improve the pavement area. Also, I forgot, there's some drainage problems that we have with the existing pavement on the backside of Memorial, where if there's too much water coming down the parking lot, it flows into one of the back doors and into that particular classroom. So I want to redo a little bit of the drainage coming off of the parking lot on the backside, and then also the walkway that's going to the old front entrance is broken concrete, and that needs to be peeled up and replaced.
So refresh my memory on how the bids for the high school were developed, as far as the particulars that went out to bid.
The particulars were, what happened was we had a group of people inside the school district try to figure out how to accommodate the larger number of parents dropping off at the high school. So we developed a traffic pattern flow, and then we brought the request to this committee, and you guys approved it and approved the the general scope of the project. We went out and got quotes for that, brought the quotes back to this committee for approval.
That's what I meant, was how was the scope? Who drafted the scope?
Management.
Okay, all right, within the SAU.
Yes.
Okay. And that would be the case for this?
Yes, exactly. So it would be me and a few other people drafting up the specifications. We would be handing it over to this committee for approval. Go out and obtain quotes, bring it back to this committee for approval, and then get the job done.
And when would you anticipate doing that?
I'd like to try to do that next summer because we moved the
No, I
entrance.
mean this, develop the scope and put it out to bid.
Oh, I'm sorry. Developing the scope would be, say, January, February timeframe. Going out to bid would say be April, May. I think May may even be a little early.
Right.
And then to have the job being performed July, August. Now, it also depends upon whether there's funding available. So we're going to be, when I bring this to the committee, it's going to be, well, we're going to have to go and draw it either, you know, from our current appropriations, or we're going to have to draw it from a capital reserve fund, or roll it into next year's budget and
Right,
delay it one more year. Those are our options.
right. So, Jamie,
So Matt, you mentioned that during heavy rains, we can back up into the classroom. Which end of the building is that happening on? Is it on the, as you're facing the building, is it on the back left or the back right?
Yeah, so if you're standing out by the roadway and you're facing the new entrance, okay, it'd be to the left. There's like a road, there's like a driveway that goes to
the
the back of the
roadway,
building.
the main entrance being West Main Street or that,
From
the
West,
crossroad there?
from West Main Street.
Okay,
So you're in that small paved area in between the main building and the separate building for music.
Yes. Let me see if I can bring up a map. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I like these Zoom calls. Let's see. Let me bring up this guy. Okay, so here's West Main Street right here. There's a doorway right there. You can see the walkway going into the doorway.
Yep.
What's happening is water is coming down off of the parking lot right here and collecting up against this doorway. And then there's a drain right there, but it's not, the ground isn't sloped like a V. It's actually sloped at the building. And it picks it up, but when there's torrential rain, it comes in through that door.
is that drain clear?
It is now.
Yeah.
You
So you
can
need
actually,
to reshape the drain then, too.
yes. So yeah, I want to put a V into the grassy area right here. We also need to add more parking out here because this is now the new main entrance. Okay, I need to put in a handicap parking near the building, and then so
Where would that go, Matt?
honestly, the handicap parking is still over at the old entrance.
Yeah, where would it go? Where would you want it to go?
Let's see, the proposals would have to come before the committee, but I think the only place that we could put it is right here on the front of the building.
Yeah, because you've got setbacks to think about on the side here, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And you're talking all that paved area that we're looking at on the screen, right?
Yeah, so
Where
The
does it end?
rehab-
Because you're not going to pave back where the middle school is, right?
no, well, it would be this road right here.
Well,
All the way down
is that, are we responsible for that road or is that the town?
No, we're responsible for that road.
Okay,
That's ours.
This is all our property. We park all the way down to about here. So I would do this area right here, all the way up around this, do the loop and back down to the playground.
now when the high school
What
was
about
done,
that excess? I'm sorry.
when the high school was done, other than the new access road, there was no additional paving, right? It was just seal coating and lines.
There was one other place. Let's see. So what we did is we cut across the grassy area right here for the parent drop off. And then you can see right here, there's some cars parked on the dirt area. We paved in this dirt area and turned that into additional parking.
I see. All right. Jamie, you had something?
There's just another section of Memorial that his cursor didn't hit on, but I'm assuming it's all the pavement, even that excess pavement over to the upper left as you walk out of the building towards West Main Street.
This is owned by the town. I guess it's owned by the church.
Yeah, I think just on the other side of that, I didn't see you color that in. So that's what
Oh, this right here.
yeah, that'd be covered, right?
Yeah, we would be actually that's really nice pavement right there. So that would probably just get some seal coating and crack sealing and then line striping.
Okay, understood.
And then this concrete walkway right here is all cracked up. That needs to be replaced. And that would be all part of this project. Okay.
So I would suggest that we put this in the CIP as a dollar with the note that we'll be putting it out to bid and firming up the price this winter.
I would agree. And Jim, I would say, I think Jamie would probably concur. Jamie, I'm assuming that you've been in that parking lot when your child was at school there. It is bad.
Yep.
That parking lot's really quite bad. It's not quite to the level of where I would be dramatic and say that it's a safety concern, but it's getting to that level. And I think after another winter of plowing and hammering on it, it's going to be in pretty rough shape. So thanks for understanding that.
Yeah, I mean, I would not have perceived there's issues with the concrete walkway, but clearly some areas that pavement is not in the best condition.
How bad is the walkway, Matt? Because I was there right on voting day because I went to the wrong place to start.
Yeah.
And I walked
Covering all your bases.
Yeah. And I walked on the walkway and I didn't really see much in the way of damage except for the very beginning of it.
Right here on the pavement area.
Yeah.
Okay, it's also broken up down here by the door. It's a trip hazard down here.
Right. So can it be cut out and replaced, or does the whole thing have to be done?
You can see where it's already been patched several times.
Okay.
I'd like to just like dig it out and fill it in with pavement as opposed to concrete.
Oh, I see.
Okay, because then I can also put in like a drainage area so the water doesn't come back down to this doorway. It does happen, not as often as it does on this back door, but enough that I think it would be important to make it so that it kind of goes off into the grassy area here to the right.
I mean, most walkways have break lines in them, right, for expansion?
To drain the water off?
Well, no, just so that there's like it's not a solid walkway. There's like a lines across it every so many feet.
Oh,
with some
Expansion
kind of
joints, yeah.
Yeah, expansion joints, right.
yeah.
So what I've seen done is you cut it at the expansion joint, lift the bad piece out and redo a new piece.
But one of the problems with that is that water will get underneath there and lift it right out again. I agree
got it.
with what Matt is saying. If you put asphalt in there, you don't have to worry so much about salt or any of that stuff. And the black asphalt will help melt the snow and ice. There's a lot of benefits to doing that.
All right, so when you quote that work, I'd like to see a cost for doing some sort of substantial repair that is done properly with, a gravel base and all of that, and compare that to what would be to replace the whole walkway.
Be a lot cheaper with the asphalt. A lot cheaper.
Could be.
Okay. So do I have
Can we do
Nas
that?
for
Can I ask-
Dawn?
can I ask a quick question, Matt?
Yeah.
Can we do the drainage part if we replace that one Because the drainage is the real concern too, Jim. I just want to make
Yeah,
sure that Matt,
because you're gonna dig a trench for some pipes. That's my smoke alarm. Annie must be cooking something.
No, actually, it's mine.
Is it yours?
Yeah.
Oh, why? No, that
Probably
was
just trying
Annie's.
to,
We
probably
set
just
yours
trying to
off.
smoke me out. Sounded like it was here.
Yeah, if you take out a 3 by 4 foot section, you dig your drainage hole there, and then you're gonna drain it off to the side where the grassy area is. Put like a dry well or something in there. For sure, you could do that, yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
great.
I'm not worried so much about the drainage. It just gives me an opportunity to put in some drainage.
Great. I just wanted to make sure that didn't get lost in the shuffle.
Okay. So do I have nods on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You all set there? She's trying to burn the house down.
Okay. Now, Memorial Schools asked to replace the existing portable classrooms with a permanent structure. And this would be a request where they put it in 25-26 and put in $550,000. Now, I'm going to switch back here to the map. This part right here with the black roof, those are portable classrooms. And portables have a finite lifespan. Usually that lifespan lasts as long as the bond payment is for it, and or the lease payment. We have paid those off, and we own those outright. So at some point, this structure right here is going to need to be replaced.
With
What are we
reduced
using on
sizes,
that?
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead, Larry.
Matt, with the class sizes diminishing, are we really going to even need that then?
So I'll speak to that just because it's more on the programming side. The problem is that the music classes happen in that area and they're loud, and the location and the proximity to the rest of the building is tricky. So Larry, the question is, right now we have 3 grade levels at that school. And I think the question really will depend on whether or not Fremont continues to be a part of our district after 2026. To be brutally honest, like if they're not with us, that's going to change the whole layout of everything anyway, right? So I can't really answer until I know the plan for Fremont. If Fremont stays and numbers go down some, it won't affect it.
What,
Can you go back to the map for just a second, Matt, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
So on the other side and on the separate buildings that are kind of hidden by trees, I thought that was where we did the music, right across from the big white square right there where the arrow is. I thought that's where we did the music.
Yeah, well, you do band music there, but you do chorus over here.
and what's the other building next to it? Also under the trees, what's that used for?
This one right here, that's a, they used to be part of the school food service. It's a garage space, and it's they're using it for storage. So right now that's full of desks. When we transitioned to our current plan for COVID, all the extra furniture that we had to pull out to get all the proper spacing is in that building.
And what's the plan for that furniture?
After COVID, put it back in the building.
I see. Oh, I see. That was taken out to create additional spacing between the desks.
Yeah, so like we had to get rid of the rug reading areas.
Yeah.
And anything that will bring the students together, like a close-knit, like a reading session, those got pulled out and put into that garage space.
Right. Tom, what's the timeline for Fremont?
2026.
What is it?
2026. And I believe that's 25, 26. And Jeannie,
Yeah,
I have your questions. I promise I haven't forgotten about those. We'll get to them right after the break, okay?
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
we've talked some.
Yeah, I just wanted you to know that I haven't, they're right in my inbox marked as unread.
Yeah, but we're gonna know more. I mean, we'll know more. We may know more in terms of lower classes about Fremont before that, I would think, right?
Yes, and I think that the key is that we will need to have I think that Fremont hopefully will make a decision about their direction over the next year and a half or year. So even if we don't have lower, even if we either have them or we don't have them with us, I would think that we would know their intentions sooner than later. I mean, 4 years means that freshmen would be starting 1 year. We've been over that, that the transition language in the contract is interesting, and we'll have to talk about that later. It's probably isn't the right time or place to discuss that, but
Sure.
I just want people to know that from a facilities perspective, Fremont's decision does have a significant impact on the layout of the district, and I've been saying that for a few years, so it's nothing new. I'm not sharing anything I haven't shared previously.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of, what's the impact on Memorial?
Okay.
As far as this additional space goes.
So my opinion on that, Jim, would be that if Fremont leaves the district, we would lose about 200 and something, 210 students from Fremont. At the time that would occur, our current seated students in the elementary schools would equal about 350 to 375 students at the high school level, which means that we have a building built for 1,000 students with 375 high school students and roughly 180 middle school students. So essentially, we would have to discuss as a community and board, do we continue to run the Bakey School because our charter says that we have to have a school in Newton and Kingston. So it's a very complicated situation where one potential solution is to have Memorial be a K-1 school and then have Bakey be, or K-2, and then have Bakey be moved into have the rest of the schooling happen at the high school facility. I mean, that's an extreme answer, but the reality is that we're required to have a school in Newton and a school in Kingston. We're not going to close the high school, and all we have left in Newton is Memorial School. And if Fremont left, we would be down to under 1,300 students, K-12.
So my thinking is that addition, as Larry brought up, is really contingent on what happens down the road.
Yes, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Matt, do you agree?
Yes. But we need to get that word out and have the committee be aware of it.
Okay.
So Jim,
Jamie.
yeah, my thoughts are, so if I heard right, Matt has placed this in 25, 26, and that's where it should be placed from a facilities planning perspective. If something doesn't happen to make us have to address it earlier, that is where you really have to start addressing it, because at that point in time, not only will you be knowing, you will be implementing potentially. So I think that's a proper placement of it in the plan.
Yeah, 25, 26. Make it down here.
So I would suggest we put it in there at $1, but we'll also with the comments in the notes that this is going to be part of a bigger picture review, including the impact on Fremont's decision and our enrollments looking forward.
Actually, Jim, in this case, I think I would leave that price there, if for no other reason than just make people look at it. Because that's a sizable amount of money and people are going to pay attention. It won't slide in the cracks.
Jamie?
Because who knows what happens? That's 5 years down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Good point.
For instance, I'll play King Solomon here. It would make sense to me to stay consistent and put the $1 in there, but I would put that in the notes that this could be upwards of $550,000 as part of the notes, so that there is a reference point, but by it being in notes, it's not a hard number. It's just a reference point.
And at that moment, 2020, sorry, 2025 and 2026 is when the bond for the high school expires. So that's a logical time if we choose to pay for that to do it, because the district will see a reduction in expenses of 2.5 million or more that year. So it's a good time to address it without making a massive impact on the taxes.
Larry, what do you think? You okay with that?
I agree with Jamie is that we need to have it somewhere. We need the big number so people won't forget it's there.
Okay.
You put $1, they're going to look the other way. We don't know who's going to be on the board in 5 years.
Right.
That's what I'm worried about. We've seen what happens when people decide not to look ahead.
So if we put the dollar in there with the note that it could cost upwards of $550 and that it's going to be conditional on need based on enrollments, that should cover it.
I think so.
Okay.
So we all nodding on that one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Dishwasher. The dishwasher is old and they're starting to fail. I need a new dishwasher next summer. And it's going to be
My son's available.
Really, he'll work for less than 15 grand.
Going to his
I got a
father's business.
teenager
I
I
slammed
can donate
dishes
to
for
that
years.
cause.
So first question, Matt, is what's the 15,000? Where'd you pull that out of?
That's actually the estimated cost. Where did we get that? Let's see if I have it here. No, I don't have it. That's the, it's a commercial dishwasher. Okay, so this would be the replacement cost of a like commercial dishwasher, and unfortunately, they're made for that spot. Yeah, they make the general machine, but then they make the stainless steel sinks around it to feed it on the spot. So it's how much it costs to replace a commercial dishwasher.
So you're not only you're replacing the dishwasher, you're replacing the counters around it that feed it and take the dishes out afterwards too?
Yeah.
Really, you can't just cut it out of there and put a new one
No.
in.
Jim, I could tell you this one. My church just replaced one of those, well, installed a new one.
Yeah,
And that was, it was actually 16.9.
okay,
So that's a good ballpark figure.
all right.
Yeah, but yours is blessed, so you got to pay more.
True,
The
true.
extra
What can I say?
1,000. All right, so anybody, anything else on this one? We're gonna nod this one?
Yeah, I think we need to plan for it if it was failing.
Right.
When just a quick question, Matt, when we say it's failing, what are we seeing as indicators of imminent demise?
Nothing
That
happens.
sounded like the name of a heavy metal record. Indicators of what was it? Indicators
Imminent
of
demise.
Demise. I got it. I wrote that down.
You could have it patent free.
Is it the pump or the heaters that are going?
It's the motor. And the motor actually seized up and they got it going again. And they were like, it's not going to make it through the school year.
Yeah.
So we're on duct tape and shoestring, Matt, but you're going for it to try to get us through to this summer, right?
That's right.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Coat hangers help too. I used to wire cars together that way.
Walk-in cooler and freezer. I'm making a request of $45,000, not this summer, but next summer. And like the dishwasher, this is aging equipment and it is costing us the district money on refrigeration, on getting these things going. What happened with this particular one is I think I had to have the motor rebuilt on the compressor, and it wasn't able to maintain the temperature the week before we were opening school.
I remember that. Matt was freaking out.
So is it working now?
Yes,
What'd
I had
they give
to-
you? What'd they give you for,
I don't know what the bill is yet.
no, I mean for what'd they say about the repair? Did they think it would, it was shaky repair like the other one, or is it gonna be good for a while?
It's probably going to make it through to the end of next year, but the equipment is just so old that we're
Right.
just throwing money at it at this point. So it just needs to be taken out and replaced.
Is the insulation good on that, or is it gone now too?
Someone mentioned to me what the lifespan is on the insulation. I thought the insulation would remain, and I was told no, it would be replaced. And if I recall correctly, what they were saying is that the technology moves along, and the new walls that they would install are more efficient.
But if that's the reason for it, then there ought to be an ROI capability that we could do efficiency savings versus maintaining the current insulation.
All right, this is really scary, Jamie, because I was thinking Jamie's going to ask about the ROI next.
There you go.
When I got hired here, I didn't even know what ROI was. This just wasn't my zone of work, right?
And if he didn't ask, I was going to.
I agree.
So how about this? A nod for $1, and then in the notes, an ROI to be produced.
I'm good with that.
So when we talked about this before, you said the actual unit that, the box stays but you replace the mechanical parts of it. Is that still the case?
And go in the insulation.
Yeah. So after I had that conversation, because that's exactly what I said. Someone pulled me aside and said that you have to replace the whole thing. So why don't I do this? When we get closer where I have to actually prove this all out, I'm gonna have a whole estimate as to whether we're gonna keep the original box or not, and then just replacing the guts to it. Okay, because I personally think we should be able to replace the guts to it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I would think they'd use some kind of foam on that around the old box now and take whatever insulation was off and foam it. But I don't know.
Yeah, I truly think an ROI would be an appropriate analysis to do on this.
Okay.
Okay, nods. Okay.
I'm nodding.
I agree.
Let's see, Memorial Elementary School classroom furniture upgrade. Now, what I'm asking here, and this is an example that I pulled out of the old middle school. The furniture that we were tossing in this middle school transition was amazing and eye-opening. We need to purge a lot of the old furniture that's in the district and replace it. And what I did is I put down $150,000 to replace furniture in fiscal year 24-25. So it'll be like 4 years from now.
We really need to get on a standard furniture replacement plan where we do a certain number of classrooms at each school per year so that we don't get any further behind on this, because this is a major problem for the district in terms of we have really nice furniture at the high school right now, but people forget that in 4 or 5 more years, the high school will be 20 years old. So if we don't begin a replacement plan for furniture and get that in the budget and get it to be a common practice, that's a problem.
Matt, didn't we talk about that a couple months ago?
Yes.
Yeah, we spoke about it when I presented the Bakey CIP plan. So really what I want to do, and one of the other problems that we had when we moved the elementary schools around, the 2 elementary schools did not have compatible furniture. So when we were moving classrooms, it was just like mix and match. It was, Bakey had these rolling carts, Memorial does not. And so the people who moved from Bakey to Memorial brought their rolling carts. So when you go now to Memorial, some of them have the old Bakey furniture, and then the next classroom is the Memorial furniture. And those classroom furniture doesn't integrate with each other. So there's no unified furniture plan throughout the district. So we can mix and match between classrooms.
This is my least favorite request.
I was going to say the same. My concern is one of the things that we found during all the reorganizations and everything else was piles and piles and piles of desks and chairs and furnitures from prior updates and improvements and considerations, et cetera. I would be very fearful of causing and being part of, just not learning from that.
Okay.
I agree with you. Didn't we also say something about that there, you could sell that back at the
Yes.
time that you're buying new?
Yes, absolutely.
I would say that's one of the things we want to ensure happens.
So I just got word that we got to shut down for the ISA meeting.
Okay.
So let me just kind of quickly see where we stand right here. And then I think we have one more after that, which is window replacement. So is it a no on the furniture replacement, or is it a nod yes?
My opinion is no for now.
Okay.
Can we table that and discuss it more when we have time? Because I have
Yep.
some questions and concerns.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would
I'm
like
not
to
saying
do
that, I just want to make sure we have a plan. It doesn't have to be this plan.
yeah.
Okay.
And I would suggest we table the window ones for next time too.
All right. So
And the plan should be Bakey and Memorial. We should be consistent with what we're doing.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, meeting adjourned.